are listening to Kaisers Kastle.
Hello, folks. How you doing tonight? Are you all having a good night? I hope you are. I will be doing a Memorial Day program, but today, news events and cycles have caught up with me. So I wanted to make sure I was able to talk on a pressing issue. You've heard me talk about free speech, and it is the only antidote to issues. Any issue. It will always be the only antidote. But we have had a coarsening of our culture where everybody needs a safe space in order not to have conversations, to quiet voices, to ensure that your voice cannot be heard. And I've said it's a disturbing trend. But as I always say, grab a coffee, a tea, take a seat on my big orange couch, maybe pop open a beer, and relax and enjoy as I take you through my thoughts on the arrest of Tommy Robinson and why U.S. people should worry, why the people in the U.S. should worry. Our laws are based on English common law. As I always do, I dig through the interwebs, and I try to scour the depths of them to try to find you content that I think is interesting. I found this, and it had been taken down for quite a while, and I want you guys to hear it. As you listen, just put yourself in theater of the mind. I'm sure you could find the video. It's of a thing called I'm an Englishman. And I guess with the arrest of Tommy Robinson, it has more relevance than it ever has before as a video. Just replace that with I'm an American. Alright? So I'll mute myself and you can listen to it.
I'm an Englishman. I'm from Bermondsey, southeast London. My father was called George. He was also from Bermondsey. His father, another Bermondsey man, was called George too. And his father, my great-grandfather, is from the same place. He was called Edward. These 3 generations of my family were in the fish trade. I'm the first member of my family not to work at the market in Billingsgate. My great-grandfather had 11 brothers and sisters. They all married, except one. They had 43 children. Of these, 37 married. And between them, they had a further 159 children. One of those was my father. I don't know exactly how many of his generation married or exactly how many children they produced. I've so far tracked over 200 of them. Many still live in Bermondsey. Some are still in the fish trade. There are 7 called George and 5 called Victoria. I stand here in front of you as a representative of all of them. And I ask in their name the great question put by our patron, Mr. Powell. What do they know of England who only England know? Or what can my family who come from England who lived in England, who know only England, saith this, our country. Mr. Power once spoke of the destruction of ancient Athens and the miraculous survival in the blackened ruins of that city of the sacred olive tree, the symbol of Greece, their country. And he also spoke of us, the English, at the heart of a vanished empire, seeming to find within ourselves, like one of our own oak trees, the sap rising from our ancient roots. And he said, perhaps after all, we, who have inhabited this island fortress for an unbroken 1,000 years, brought up, as he said, within the sound of English birdsong, under the English oak, in the English meadow, beneath the red cross of St. George, it is us who know most of England. And I appreciated him for saying that, because it was as if he spoke for my family, who understand well their own country, who understand even better their own capital, London town, as we used to call her. As we strolled in her parks, as we marveled at her palaces, as we did business in the city, went west for a dance, took a boat on the river. The pale ale and eel pie of old London. The London of my family, for as many generations as I know. The London that within 15 years would be less than 50% white. London where in 15 years, a white person will be in the minority. Am I racist? No. Do I have anything against people of other races? No. Would I prevent them from coming into my home? No. So what then is my gripe? My gripe. And I speak on behalf of 7 men called George and 5 women called Victoria. My gripe is quite simple. My gripe is that we were never asked. My gripe is that we were told, not asked. And every day we are told again and again how we are to be and how our country is to be. We're told by them, and we know who they are. They're English too. They're the class that has always set themselves apart. They're the class that has always taken whatever they wanted for themselves. And now they are the class that is giving England away. They have never asked us. And they never will. Do we allow them to sell our heritage? Or is it time for us to speak? To speak. To refuse them the right to give away our holy, our bountiful, our only England that has nurtured us naked, grown us as the oak. Is it time for us that England know to come yet again and defend our country with our fire, our fists? Is it time for our sons to rise again?
Okay. Well, hopefully you guys can insert America in some of that. I know everybody on my page is not a racist, but you're called one anyways, because you speak and you think something's not right. Now, here's why I can draw a tie-in to what happened with Tommy Robinson. Yeah, his past is not perfect. Research him. You'll find out. But he admits to it. He has some sort of honor and integrity because he says exactly what he was about in his past. I respect that. But all in all, what he tries to do is point out that there are grooming gangs that are raping young English youth. I don't think I've ever heard him say that the English youth were only whites. I don't think I've ever heard that. Because England's always had Caribbean blacks, you know. It's had Asians. It's had Near Easterners in its history. There were Indians, dot, not feather. There were always other people in their culture. And even served in the military. People forget the First World War and the Second World War. So, when he talks about it, the grooming gangs, unfortunately for him, they all happen to be mostly Pakistani or Muslim. And that's where the control of speech is. You're not allowed to have free speech in England if it's a quote-unquote protected class. Well, that's kind of interesting because you have to have the real speech, the fundamental speech on what's really happening to come to a informed decision upon it. But see, political correctness, and I always correct people when they say it started with Clinton. No, it started with Bush Sr. And it's become a rot in the entire West. And he, as a journalist, was only covering what happened. What I can say, it looks like, from everything I've gleaned, scouring the sewers of the interwebs, is that this arrest warrant was probably they already knew he was going to cover it, and it was already signed, and it was a done deal. And what we're seeing in America with our deep state, as they decided to go and spy on our sitting president, Trump, because they don't like him. Heck, even a gray man can have unwanted visitors, even if they're nice and they talk flowery, and they want to just tell you they're worried about your protection. You can tell that there's something else afoot. It's an old game. So what? You buy the ticket, take the ride. Tommy bought the ticket, took the ride. But the arrest of him on this was definitely not correct. There was no reason for it. And you saw the English people as I played that little speech that was given that you all heard. You heard him say, is our young men going to have to rise up with their fist? That's the last resort. That's something nobody should ever want to see in their civilized culture. But the thing is, what happens when you have 1984 not becoming a work of fiction, but becoming a reality of life. That's problematic, folks. And so when you see the push to take away firearms, when you see the push to take away knives, like England's even done. Heck, there was a young man who wasn't 18 that couldn't buy spoons. That got himself in a little trouble in England town. England, the UK, whatever you want to call it. These are hard facts. It's all out there for you to see. This is the problem with the internet, is that every fact is getting out, and then you have everybody with their personal opinions wanting to infuse them on other people. But it doesn't belay a fact as being a fact. A matter of fact, it enhances that fact. So when you see this, you have to be able to call it out. You have to be able to discern fact from fiction. You have to be able to know how to surf something and go somewhere and check it out. You know, with the panopticon that we exist in right now, that we've allowed to be created, my generation, the generation before me, we got fat, comfortable, and used to it, the slow creep of cultural Marxism. So we hold some of the blame, if not most of it. But I still stress that speech, more words, more talking, it's the only way out, because they're going to try everything they can to vilify anybody who wants to speak out. This is going to be a fact. You have to understand that this is how the world degenerates. Because once you lose the first world and you've dirtied it with second and third, you're not going to get the first world back. It's just like when Department of Justice allowed a corrupt agency in to their midst, the ATF. You could have counted the days until now DOJ and FBI are both sullied. They both became political hack agencies. When people say it's not the rank and file, I have to disagree. I worked as a federal cop. Oh man. If I would have seen some corrupt stuff, and if it would have come out, and I didn't say something, trust me, they would have gone after me with a passion you could not even imagine. And lawfare has become a thing where you just, hey, we want to bankrupt you. We want to destroy you. Saul Alinsky tactics. It's nothing new. Marxist tactics. Cultural Marxism. Frankfurt School. Tavistock Institute. All these things. Learn them well and read about them. These are things that are real. And it's not for your benefit. It's not to make you comfortable. Yeah, you'll have little tech or whatever. You'll have these little things to entertain you. But didn't Rome have that with bread and circus? I think so. So the arrest of Tommy Robinson should disturb you as an American, because it points to a fact that they can say, you know what, whenever he shows his face at a courthouse again or whatever, as a reporter, arrest him for breach of the peace. Well, look at the guy who was in Scotland who had his dog do the little right arm Roman salute. What did he have? 7 fans at that time? Then it went viral and he had, what, 1 million fans? And all of a sudden they had to take action on him for hate speech. Hate speech. Why is that even in our vernacular? Makes no sense. Speech does not hurt. The old adage, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. I wonder how that got lost in the sauce. These are things to ponder. Things to think about. There is absolutely no reason why any of us should fear our speech. And I won't. I will continue to talk about what I see and what I think. Unless they, put me in jail, which, who cares? Or they kill me, just because I spoke. Whatever. I wouldn't be shocked. Because putting Tommy Robinson in a prison, where most of the prisons in England, I have a brother of mine who I've served with, and he has a quick temper. He knows who he is. Love you, bro. And he ends up getting into fights a lot. He's a brawler. I've kept him out of trouble and whatnot, but the fact of the matter is he's been in jail, and he's told me about how the little Muslim gangs are in prison. Somebody like Tommy Robinson, because he's reporting the truth, you don't think they'll try to snuff him out in prison? So basically it is the government who will give him a death sentence for a 13-month sentence. That's really what it is. And who cares? I mean, in reality, it's not going to affect me. But I will say hashtag free Tommy Robinson, because he needs to be released. He deserves his life. And he deserves to have his speech. I believe even the first classical liberal that America had, Thomas Jefferson, was the one who said, the only speech that needs defended is that which we find most repugnant. But we've seen that mollycoddled down, and the forcing of Marxists to be able to shut down events and places of speech. But that started in England too. Remember? But first they took the guns. They did everything ass backwards here in America, so that's why they're failing. First they had to take the guns, and then they could screw the speech. While I do not believe that this is a time for any violence, I believe more speech needs to happen. I also have to be, I guess, a bellwether to say we have to fix this. This is a time for speech, a time for talk, to hash it out, for the left to develop a thicker skin, and for the right to not be shamed out of speaking their minds. America, when I grew up, has always been diverse. I went through a mixed school. We used to call it the hillbillies and the brobillies. But now, what we have are you're bringing in third worlders and second worlders that will never, ever, ever assimilate. Generationally, they don't. England's going through that now. Look how successful it is. It's not. Europe has invited the mass hordes in from everywhere. That will not succeed. That will be a failure of epic and biblical proportions. So I can say, Am I racist? No, but if you call me one, I'll say I am. I don't give a fuck. Call me a Nazi? No. Okay, yeah, I am. The thing is, you agree and double down. That's the only way to handle this, because that's the way they shut down your speech. By calling you a name that you find abhorrent. Don't worry about what they call you. Worry about what's true and inside you. You know the truth. You find the truth. If you don't, and you embrace it, you never cuck to anybody. You don't allow them to take what is yours. And what truly is yours is yourself. That's it. You may have a wife. You may have a son. You may have a daughter. You may have a husband. Whatever. But a wife or a husband can divorce you. And a son will, or a daughter will, leave the nest. So what do you really own? You own yourself. You own your honor, your dignity, and integrity. No one can take that away. No matter how much they smear you. This is something I talked with a friend of mine about. Smear your reputation. We think that as a bad connotation. That's actually a Viking thing. To have your reputation smeared was a good thing, because you came back from battle with the blood of your enemies all over you. You were smeared. Your reputation was smeared with the blood of your enemies. And that elevated you. So let them smear your reputation. This is a time of no fear. And you all have to have no fear. You can disagree with me and I can disagree with you, and I don't have to be disagreeable. I'm not going to worry about it. I've only got 100 and some people on my page. I'm happy with a small little bit. Like, follow, share, whatever you guys choose to do. I'd appreciate it. But this is a conversation I've wanted to have for a long time. I wanted to have it with a brother of mine tonight, with both of us throwing ideas and thoughts. But he had stuff he had to do. So you only got me, folks. And that's just me telling you. I really appreciate it that you spend your time sitting on my big orange couch, hanging out with me, enjoying life. But in the end, it's all about yourselves and what you're going to do with yourself. So with that being said, it's time for Shuff to say, I'm out of here. God bless, be well.